When a GoFundMe campaign bearing the name of Hollywood icon Mickey Rourke quietly surged past the $100,000 mark, few expected the actor's immediate and furious public rejection of it. At 73, the Sin City and the wrestler star suddenly found himself at the center of a digital controversy that blended celebrity finance, public sympathy, and uncomfortable questions about consent and transparency in crowdfunding. Within hours of the fundraiser gaining widespread attention, Rourke took to social media with an emotional message that left little room for ambiguity. He did not merely distance himself from the campaign, he outright rejected it, calling the situation humiliating, confusing, and deeply upsetting. "This is not me," Rourke said in a video posted to Instagram. "I wouldn't know what a GoFundMe foundation is in a million years." The campaign, which claimed to be raising funds to prevent the actor's eviction over tens of thousands of dollars in alleged unpaid rent, immediately became the subject of intense scrutiny. While some fans rushed to donate, others began asking a more troubling question: who created the fundraiser, and did Mickey Rourke actually approve it? Reports preceding the fundraiser alleged that Rourke had fallen behind by nearly $60,000 in rent. Tabloid outlets described the actor as rich-poor, a term often used in Hollywood to describe individuals who earn large sums sporadically but struggle with liquidity between projects. Sources quoted in entertainment media suggested that Rourke lives paycheck to paycheck, spending quickly when money comes in and finding himself under pressure during periods of inactivity. These claims were reinforced by paparazzi images showing a U-Haul truck outside a Los Angeles residence and reports that Rourke was temporarily staying at a luxury West Hollywood hotel, costing more than $500 per night. Rourke himself did not deny financial hardship. In fact, he acknowledged missteps in managing his career and finances over the decades, describing his past decisions as a really terrible job of self-management. However, he strongly rejected the idea that he would ever solicit money from fans or strangers. "If I needed money," Rourke said bluntly, "I wouldn't ask for charity. I have too much pride." The controversy deepened when it emerged that the GoFundMe campaign was allegedly created by a woman identifying herself as Leah Joelle Jones, who claimed to be the assistant to Rourke's longtime manager Kimberly Hines. According to the fundraiser's description, the campaign had been launched with Rourke's full permission, and Hines was listed as the beneficiary. This claim stands in direct contrast to Rourke's own public statements, in which he denied any involvement, approval, or awareness of the fundraiser. Page 6 and other outlets confirmed that requests for comment were sent to Jones, Hines, and GoFundMe itself. At the time of publication, no official responses had been issued clarifying whether written consent, verbal authorization, or documentation existed. This silence only intensified speculation. In his Instagram video, Rourke's frustration was unmistakable. He described feeling blindsided and embarrassed, emphasizing that the idea of strangers donating money on his behalf was deeply uncomfortable. "Ask strangers for a nickel?" he said. "That's not my style." He went further, urging anyone who had already donated to seek refunds, a move that raised eyebrows among legal observers. While donors can request refunds under certain conditions on GoFundMe, mass refunds can become complicated once funds are withdrawn or allocated. Rourke also hinted, carefully, at a possible suspect behind the fundraiser. "There's only one person I can think of," he said, stopping short of naming anyone. "I hope it's not the person I'm thinking about." Importantly, he avoided making direct accusations, choosing to instead frame the situation as emotionally painful rather than criminal. Crowdfunding platforms like GoFundMe operate largely on trust. While GoFundMe requires campaign organizers to agree to terms of service and prohibits fraudulent activity, enforcement often occurs after complaints are raised. When celebrities are involved, the stakes rise dramatically. A recognizable name can attract donations quickly, sometimes before basic verification steps occur. In this case, several red flags emerged. Conflicting statements between the alleged beneficiary and the organizer. No public confirmation of written consent. Emotional fundraising language tied to eviction urgency. A high-profile subject denying involvement. None of these elements alone prove wrongdoing. However, together they represent what fraud experts call elevated risk indicators. It is critical to state clearly, there is currently no public evidence proving that fraud has occurred. However, there is also no public confirmation that the campaign was properly authorized. Potential issues under review typically include whether the named individual explicitly consented, whether funds were transferred or withdrawn, whether campaign descriptions were misleading, whether donor expectations were accurately represented. GoFundMe's internal review process can freeze campaigns, issue refunds, or remove fundraisers if violations are found. At the time of writing, GoFundMe has not publicly announced any enforcement action. Beyond the fundraiser, Rourke used the moment to reflect on his life more broadly. He spoke openly about decades of therapy, past trauma, and efforts to move beyond destructive patterns. "I worked very hard to get past the damage that was done to me," he said. "I'm not that person anymore." This vulnerability resonated with fans, many of whom expressed sympathy regardless of where they stood on the fundraiser controversy. Rourke also acknowledged borrowing money recently from a close friend, emphasizing that private help, not public charity, was his preferred path. Online reaction was swift and polarized. Some fans defended the fundraiser, arguing that it may have been a well-intentioned effort by someone close to Rourke who believed they were helping. Others were outraged, accusing unnamed parties of exploiting Rourke's name and reputation during a vulnerable moment. Donors themselves were left in limbo, unsure whether to request refunds or wait for official clarification. Several outcomes remain possible. GoFundMe could verify authorization and allow the campaign to continue. The campaign could be suspended pending review. Funds could be refunded to donors. Legal disputes could arise behind the scenes. Until formal statements are issued, much of the situation remains unresolved. This case serves as a reminder for donors everywhere. Always verify campaigns involving public figures. Look for direct confirmation from the named individual. Be cautious with emotionally urgent appeals. Understand platform refund policies. Crowdfunding can be a powerful tool, but it also requires vigilance.